Rebel fans, Pete Golden season is here. We're in the playoffs. We're looking at what is Ole Miss's path to a national championship. Put everything aside about Lane Kiffin. Put everything aside about what's happening in the portal. You guys are in the playoffs. You've earned it. And you have a good path to get to a championship. I think that, we'll pull up the odds here when it comes to what are your chances to win the championship. But Hunter and I wanted to talk about what does this path look like? Where does Ole Miss match up well? What are some things to look out for? What are maybe some of their drawbacks? So Hunter, thoughts on this path and what this season could mean for Ole Miss?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, they've done so much to get to this point. You never want to see it get overshadowed by the outside noise, the rat poison, as they may say. They're doing a lot of really, really good things, and not a lot should change for the playoffs. You're bringing back a lot of your staff coming back to coach through the playoffs. A lot of the offense should look the same. A lot of the defense should especially look the same, with Pete Golding continuing to be that voice and pillar of consistency throughout the playoffs. Their path here, to me, hinges on one major component, right? The offense can wear a team down. That's been the highlight of this Ole Miss team. And I don't think that changes of what this offense can do come playoff time.
Yeah, we've seen Trinidad Chambliss, who has championship winning experience at a D2 level with Ferris State, right? You could call it Cam Newton-esque. Cam Newton won the championship at the JUCO level, right? And then took it the next year and won it at the national championship level in a one-game scenario, right? We're in a 12-team playoff, but Trinidad Chambliss, newcomer of the year in the SEC, pretty much plays mostly mistake-free football, and he's been tested. He's played the Oklahomas. He's played the Georgias, and most of his test, he's done his job. And so you should feel really good about where they could go in the playoffs with him at the helm.
Yeah, and you look at the tests that they have ahead where it's Tulane, again, saw that the first time, belt to ass. Now you got a rematch with Georgia where all things considered, you played pretty well. Like you had your finger on the pulse of the game. You had the opportunity to win that in Athens. Now you got it at a neutral site. If you do, get past Tulane like we're expecting, it's not a bad matchup. Like you did look okay. I mean, Georgia's playing better football as of late than they even did in that game. Then you got Ohio State, Miami, or Texas A&M as your final stop here. One thing at a time, but Chambliss has been playing good, like you're saying. And I think that right now I don't think there's shaking in the boots. I don't think there's anything ahead of him where it looks like the lights are too bright or anything's too big for what this team could do.
Right. I mean, you could almost go out on a limb and say that, prior to the coaching change, Ole Miss has the best offense in the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm alone in that. I'll sit on that, right? I mean, A&M's got a great offense. Obviously, Indiana's got a great offense. I think the jury's out on how good Ohio State's offense is. I mean, the two games that I've actually seen them play anybody with a pulse outside of Michigan, they've put up less than 20 points. But I mean, Ole Miss has got a damn good offense.
They do, and there's a philosophy here for Ole Miss's offense, and right now it's let's run the ball a lot. There's only one playoff team running the ball more than they do, and that's Georgia. We can get to that. The running numbers outside of the actual touchdown stats aren't spectacular. When you're looking at per carry, Kejuan Lacey's been tough to tackle. They're running the ball often. It's wearing defenses down where it's like run. We're down your throat. It's a problem because then they decide to drop back. And Chambliss right now, 8th in the nation in yards gained per drop back. Second best completion percentage on passes over 20 yards. So it's that dichotomy of the two sides of the ball where we can run and really wear you down 2-3 yards and then air it out. And it's a dangerous thing for defenses to cover. And we've seen that throughout the season.
Yeah, and a theme you've talked about throughout the season is just the myriad of receiving options they have. And I feel like these guys really haven't gotten a ton of spotlight because they're not the Trey Harrises. They're not even the guys on Missouri. They're not the big time guys in the conference. But when you think about all the weapons they have, and not to omit the Tulane matchup, how do you see them pairing against a Georgia or against an A&M or against an Ohio State when you look at the next two rounds?
Yeah, offensively, I see it going well. I mean, they have 8 guys with 20 plus targets right now, like you mentioned. They're spreading the wealth. It's hard to cover them. And, oh, by the way, they're protecting Chambliss extremely well. He's the second least pressured quarterback in the nation. Only 25.5 or 20.5% of his dropbacks he's even seen pressure. So it's a tough thing, especially when you're looking at teams like Georgia, who they've been getting a little bit of pressure as of late, but are still not a high pressure team. Tulane, not going to get home. You can get through your first 2 rounds with a fairly clean quarterback. That's a good spot to be in. And I think that matches up well with other teams. Defensively, we could talk about it. I think that's a little bit of a different game, but offensively, I think they match up really well.
Yeah, and we'll certainly get to it, right? I think people always talk about playoff football being about what defense could do. We look at the last 2 champions in the 4-team to 12-team. I would say defense played a huge role with Michigan and played a massive role with Ohio State. I mean, they just absolutely, shut down what was a very strong rushing attack with Riley Leonard and with Jeremiah Love and Jadair Prince. Defensively, how important is it for this path when we look at these next couple games?
Defensively, it's important because we've seen run defense be a little bit of a problem. They've been able to get run on a little bit, and you start looking
14th in the SEC, 150 yards per game.
Yeah, and you look at their second game here is against Georgia, who right now has been running better than a lot of teams that you could look at, and they're doing it with a lot of different weapons. They're doing it with the quarterback, a lot of running backs. They look better than when they played the first time in that close matchup in Athens. The run defense needs to improve a little bit. It needs to improve at the second and third level. They're doing great on the D line. We've talked about when we saw the All SEC team come out. I mentioned that Will Eccles should have been in the first team All SEC on the D line because they only had edges. They needed to give a little bit more love to the big guys in the middle.
Yeah.
But between him, Xavier Harris, they're doing great at stopping run up front. But if things get past, how do those linebackers step down? How do the safety step down? The corners get involved. That's what I want to see as they develop through the playoffs and they start looking at Georgia and beyond.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be really critical, especially when you look at that back half of the bracket. Like I talked about the best offenses, and he kind of gave me an interesting look. What they don't have in their pocket as much, right? Kawan Lacey is one of the best running backs in the country. The running back attack from A&M they can run, right, with the quarterback as well. Even Ohio State, Bo Jackson and C.J. Johnson can run the ball. And you look at Georgia, you talked about what they can do with Bowens, what they can do with Nate Frazier. Frazier's probably an NFL guy this year. It is a big red flag. But if they are able to slow down Georgia, we'll say they beat Tulane as well, not to kind of, move past that. They've played Tulane already. The All-State Sugar Bowl could feel somewhat home game-ish. I mean, Ole Miss isn't too far from New Orleans, and obviously Atlanta and Georgia is not too far from New Orleans either, but it's a good spot where it could be a sprinkle of blue, a sprinkle of red. Like I expect a 50-50 crowd, if not 60-40 Ole Miss, depending on, how they show up in the stands.
Yeah, and there's a lot of teams right now that like you look at the 4-game run and you're like, all right, do I really think that they have it in them to run a 4-game gauntlet? And I won't call out any names, but like Ole Miss isn't one of those teams that I'm questioning. Like I don't like they might not be your favored team, the favorite to win the whole thing, but like in any matchup with one of these teams, I don't think that they can be counted out. Like some teams that have mismatches. I don't think that they're a team that has a glaring mismatch on any side of the ball. I think that they've done great things defensively. They have a lot of playmakers defensively. The offense is really good and can match up against anyone. And I think the teams outside the SEC, they're offering something that maybe they haven't seen yet on their schedule when you look at the myriad of weapons offensively. So I'm not counting them out in any capacity. I don't know what the future holds for them as they leave the playoffs. But right now, I think that they keep enough continuity to make a good run. I think the Georgia game, Ole Miss game will be a huge one. And if they get past that test, I'm not sure who you can really count them out against.
Yeah, and if they get past that test, you're looking at either Miami, Texas A&M, or Ohio State. Best team they match up with, and then the team that you think will be there, how do they match up with?
I think they match up best against Miami.
Okay.
I think, a big part of Miami's game has been pressuring quarterbacks defensively. Like that's been a huge part of it. Teams have not been able to apply that pressure to Ole Miss. When you're looking at Ruben Bain and you're looking at what they can do defensively at Miami. So I think that is the best matchup. I would be interested. The game I'd like to see the most is I would love to see this team play Texas A&M. I think that would be a really cool one. I'd love to see what the run defense could do against the different running backs that A&M could bring and how they could, that A&M running back room is getting healthier come playoffs.
Yep. And again, they would be getting past a Georgia team with a strong rushing attack as well. I would imagine that game's a shootout, most likely similar to how it was in Athens this year. You match up against A&M in the Fiesta Bowl semifinals. You probably feel a little more confident in your rushing defense, and you're playing a defense that can be passed on, can be run on, right? It could be a Kawan Lacey, continuation to his story for what he's trying to do for the next level potentially. That he could run on that team. We saw Contravian Wisner run on A&M very heavily with Texas, right? So could be a good matchup. I mean, at that point, you're seeing blood. You're in semifinals. You're probably going to be either playing. I mean, it could be Indiana in the championship. It could be Texas Tech. It could be Oregon. It could be Alabama. It could be Oklahoma. It's hard to speak on hypotheticals, but when you get to the semifinals, you're getting through a former champion team in Georgia. You're getting through either a SEC third place team or a runner up in the Big Ten.
It's all the big dogs at that point.
It's all the big dogs at that point.
It's a willpower thing, and it's what this team could do to will themselves there. I think maybe there's a chip on the shoulder, a little bit of vengeance, a little bit of, hey, don't count us out. We've done so much, and all the talk's been about is our head coach. Like we're here to play. And
they have their OC from the season still coaching on staff, right? So like
for now,
Kiffin gave him the chance to go back and coach, but he's there as well. So like, I mean, he knows the offense, he knows what to call.
Yeah, we'll see if they, Lane Kiffin, a very aggressive coach. We'll see if the Pete Golding, continues that trend into this run. But Ole Miss fans, let us know what you think. Do you think this team has the chance to win a national championship? I think that they do. Let us know what their biggest test might be, how you think that they match up against some of these teams. We'd love to hear from you all. Excited for what this team has done this season and what they could bring to the 12-team playoff. Again, I want to give them so much credit for what they've done, and it hasn't been talked about enough given all the other things, the noise.
Absolutely. They deserve all the credit, and it's going to be exciting to watch. I think when we look at this year's crop of SEC teams that have made it compared to last year, like I think all 5 of these teams really do have a shot to make some noise in the playoffs. And so if you like content like this, we love talking to the Ole Miss Rebels fans or maybe an avid gambler trying to figure out if they should place that championship bet. Subscribe to our channel. We're going to be continuing to cover SEC football throughout the playoffs and postseason as well. And so this is the time of year that everything's built up for. And we're excited to see the Ole Miss Rebels in the playoff spot. And so once again, I'm Randall Odette Jr. We got Hunter Ziesman. This is a new SEC podcast.